Hi everyone. I hope you're having a good week 4. I wanted to come on and spend a few minutes talking to you about the week 4 assignment, which is called Drafting for Clarity from Plan to Paragraphs. And this is an important step in the writing process. This is stage 2 in the writing process. You've spent the first 3 weeks on stage 1, which is pre-writing, in which you learned about the rhetorical situation and then worked on generating a topic and ideas for that topic and creating an outline to help you organize your ideas. And now you're going to take that outline and the pre-writing idea generating and organizing stage and move into putting your plan into action in the form of drafting your paragraphs. Now, in a full rough draft, that would be drafting the entire essay, or what we call a rough draft, beginning from the introduction through your body paragraphs and then to your conclusion. But for this assignment, you're only going to be drafting some of your paragraphs. But it's still a really important step because it gets you to start putting your ideas down on paper in a more fleshed out version, in a more developed way, so that you can see where you're going as you continue to draft and then finalize this essay. These are really important steps to go through. They also give you time to think about your ideas, to think about where you might need to add more ideas, where some ideas might not be as relevant as others, and to see that organization come together as you develop your paper. What step is to start preparing for the assignment? And you're not going to be writing any of this down, or at least you're not going to be submitting it. You may want to take notes, but you're preparing to start drafting some of your paragraphs that you began to create in your outline. And the first step is to review that outline, looking back at the thesis statement, which is the overall message of your narrative or your email, the main points that you included in your supporting details. Next, you're going to identify 1 or 2 sections that you are ready to develop, that you think you can now develop into full paragraphs. Because maybe you need to go back and flesh out some of the other supporting points, and you might not be quite ready yet. And then next, you're going to decide where you want to start. So if you're writing a narrative, you might begin with the most vivid moment in this story, this narrative. Maybe you want to give some background of the story. And you might just have to do some writing to figure out where the best place would be to start. If you're writing a professional email, you might start with the main request or explaining the point or purpose of this email to your reader. But you're always going to remember your goal. So you're not drafting the entire project yet. You're only picking a couple of paragraphs to start developing to kind of get an idea of where you're going. But you do want to remember the end goal, which is to make sure that you have developed your thesis or central message and organized it in a way to make it most clear and readable for your audience. So these are the instructions for this assignment. Part 1, and you can do this on your document. You can write or just copy and paste part 1, the setup. And then in this section, you're going to talk about what type of a writing you're doing, the topic that you chose, and the main message or goal of your piece. And you can do this either by answering each of these questions or just by writing a brief paragraph on answering these questions. And then the next step is to create 2 paragraphs that all together are at least or between 300 and 400 words. Now you can go over that a little bit, but still try and maintain this word count because it's really important to be able to write within the confines of these requirements. It is a skill to be able to develop a paper when it needs to be longer, and it is a skill to be able to write more concisely and condense your ideas where you need to. So you're going to draft 2 paragraphs, well-developed paragraphs. You're going to focus on the structure of that paragraph, the clarity, meaning the readability, the flow, which is part of the organization and coherence. You're not trying to be perfect. This is still a draft. You do want to use transitions to move from one idea to the other and show those relationships between the ideas. You do want to make sure you have supporting details and that you are using your own voice, the way you write, to create something that's more engaging and brings your ideas to life. This is a bridge between the planning stage, where you organized your ideas, to the development and expression of these ideas that is going to become your final product, your final text. The final section, part 3, is a reflection. So this is the place where you think about the drafting process, what you felt was easier or more natural, what was harder, and what are you going to focus on in improving this draft as you move forward to continue to write the completed text. And as always, don't forget to proofread carefully. I always suggest reading your work out loud. You will be able to hear that and the errors more easily, but also to use a grammar checker that comes with Word or possibly using Grammarly in order to make sure that it is free of grammar errors, punctuation, spelling errors, and that it is clear and easy to read. And finally, make sure when you submit this assignment that you upload it and attach it as a Word document and not copy and paste it into the folder, because I cannot make comments on it that way. Okay, so it does need to be uploaded. If you need any help, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions and to clarify anything about this assignment for you.